story, but I am going to tell you about Rubicon versus Amoco. This was David versus Goliath. I'm the little guy. I went out and I opened my own law firm, June 1 of 1990. And I didn't have anything to do. I went out without one stinking piece of business. I wanted to see if I could make it on my own. Ernest didn't want me to go. In fact, he and I had a falling out over it, and he didn't speak to me for some time. But I wanted to see if I could do it. And so I went out on my own. The very first day I was open for business, this fellow named Little John, called me on the phone and said, "Hey, can I come see you?" I said, "Sure." He says, "I think I got a case." I said, "I think I got time." He said, "When's a good time for you?" Well, let me check my calendar. I don't care. And he says, "Okay, so I'll be there in about an hour." I said, "I'll be waiting." So an hour later, in comes Littlejohn. And here's what he tells me. "I need to sue Amoco on behalf of my little oil company called Rubicon." I said, "Okay, what happened?" He said, "Well, Amoco put up some properties for sale, and I was going to buy these 2 oil fields out in Wyoming. And the problem is Amoco underpriced them. So I won the right to buy them for $18 million. We did all the paperwork. We had it all ready to go. I'd gone to the bank. I'd gotten the financing. Everything is ready to go. The day before we're set to close, I got a call from an in-house lawyer at Amoco telling me environmental issues had arisen on this property. They would not be able to sell it to me." Okay. He said, "So I told him I could take care of the environmental problems." No, she said, woman lawyer Becky McGee. No, we just can't sell it to you. We're going to have to hold on to it for a few years." John was very upset, but not nearly as upset as he was the next day when he found out Amoco had taken those same 2 properties and put them up for sale through a New York seller, Morgan Stanley, for $64 million. There were no environmental problems. They just figured out they had underpriced the property. So he says, "I want to sue them." Well, now, how many of you have had contracts or are in contracts? Okay. Have you reached the point yet, if they teach this in contracts, where you found out that, well, first of all, contracts can be oral, right? But it's got to be evidenced in writing, signed by the party you're seeking to hold if it concerns the sale of real estate. That's called the parole evidence rule. So I know the parole evidence rule. I'm sitting there thinking, please have a signed document. I can make money on this and retire. It'd be like law office open for a week, dream come true. In for a week, out, retire. I said, "So all this paperwork that was completed, did they sign it?" He said, "Well, no. And that's been the problem with the other 3 law firms I've gone to with this case so far. I've got to tell you the truth, you're not the first." 3 law firms had turned the case away. I said, "Well, let me do some research. Maybe we sue them under another theory. Maybe we sue them under fraud, claiming that they'd induced you to do all this stuff and then they weren't doing their end of the deal. And I don't know. Give me some time to research it. I need 4 or 5 hours to research it." He said, "Well, when will you be able to get that done?" I said, "Well, I'll see you at 3 in the afternoon. I mean, I've got nothing else to do here." And he says, "Okay, I'll be back." So I did the research and found out I was wrong, but maybe not totally wrong. I had a little wrinkle, because what you find out from these professors is you start trying to think through this stuff. Have you found law school changing your brain? I noticed it my first year when I was reading the warranty on the toaster at breakfast and enjoying it. Something's gone. But anyway, I got this little angle, this little sliver of a tort I thought I might be able to slide into. So I took the case. It was fun. I got to depose the president of Amoco Production, the president at his top floor Chicago office. It was delightful because I had learned the Ernest Cannon rule of Rosalita. Use the door, Rosie, that's what it's there for. So I was going in. I went in to depose the president. He was already ticked off that I was taking his deposition. He didn't even see why he had to give it. The judge ordered it. When I went in there, he had like 7 lawyers lined up in their $6,000 Brioni suits. They're just all lined up in a row behind him. I came in deliberately wearing a T-shirt, a pair of Levi's with a couple of well-placed holes, and some topsiders with no socks on so the little hairs on my ankle would stick out. I'm videotaping this deposition to play to a rural Texas jury in the same county where they had to pull up the railroad tracks, Matagorda County. So I go in, and I walk up to Patrick Early, who's the president of Amoco, and said, "Hello, Mr. Early, Mark Lanier, good to meet you." Oh, no, he didn't do that. He crosses his arms as he sits there and says, "So?" I looked at him and I said, "Well, somebody woke up on the sunshine side of the bed." And I walked over and I sat down at his conference table. And when I sat down at his conference table, I crossed my leg like this, where this foot, with the little ankle showing with all the little hairs sticking out, this foot was about an inch from his nice oak table. It wasn't on his table, but it was so close it was killing him. He didn't like me. He didn't like the case. He certainly didn't like the way I disrespected him, the way I was dressed. He hated the fact that my foot was so stinking close to his table, but wasn't actually on the table, so he couldn't tell me to get it off the table. The camera goes on. Now, the jury ultimately would see this at a trial where I'm a really nice guy at trial. I try real hard to be nice. I'll be firm. I'm a firm lawyer, but I try to be friendly with the jury, and they think of me as the nice guy, hopefully. All right? They have no clue how I'm dressed because there's no camera on me. The camera's a headshot of Pat Early. They just see one stinking sourpuss of an angry man on this video. And I haven't even started the Rosalita front door cross-examination yet. The examination goes something like this. Off screen. "Are you Pat Early?" "Yeah." I said, "Where are you from?" "Do I have to answer that?" Lawyer from the side, "Yes." "New York, New York." I said, "Oh, I'm from Lubbock, Texas. And where I was brought up, my parents taught me a couple of rules. One was to say yes, sir, and no, sir, instead of yeah and no. And another one was to do what I said. Your word's your bond." Did your parents teach you any of that growing up in New York, New York? "Do I have to answer that?" Probably. "No. What's your point?" I said, "Well, my point is your company walked on a deal. And I'm trying to figure out if you've got some bad apples under you or if it's rotten all the way to the top." He says, "Let me tell you something. I'm in the job of making money. And if my lawyers tell me I have an out on a deal and I can make more money for this company, my lawyers are instructed to take that out. We do whatever it takes to make money. Our word's not an issue to us." I said, "Okay, that's what I needed to know, thanks." I got it marked out. $483 million is what the jury gave us. It's a nice case to open your law firm with. Did I mention we're on a contingent fee?